Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon. We'll be talking about their movies, shows, programs, I don't know, whatever the case may be. Whatever may be related to Frozen or whatever else, I guess. Yeah, this is gonna be a Frozen video. Again, for like the 100th time, as you can see. Yeah, but point being, I'm talking about Disney stuff that's related to the company in one shape or another anyway. So here we are, I guess. But yeah, I came across this article saying that how Frozen 2 gets more dark and more political with each viewing, which honestly, I didn't really think of it like that, but then again, that doesn't really seem much of a stretch, come to think of it. So, okay. And, but yeah, the thing is that what a lot of people don't seem to realize, like at all, is that Disney was always political. It was always there. But I just find it kind of odd that a lot of this stuff actually gets ignored. So what the hell, really? Yeah, but like I said, it was there from the get go, the political stuff. Yeah, a lot of the adults who have seen like stuff like Cinderella, Snow White, or whatever else when they were kids, but they would completely ignore this. And then when they have kids when they're old enough, they will raise them with those specific movies, just out of nostalgia. And yes, you could always, criticize people like this for being stuck in the past. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Nintendo. But again, even then, it would just completely and utterly dismiss the fact that, yeah, the war effort, Walt Disney when he was alive, that was totally a thing. So, yeah, there you go. This was definitely a thing he did a while back. So, yeah, when it comes to like certain political ideals, that was always there within the company ever since its inception, ever since day one and whatnot. Yeah, Moana trying to change things up, I guess a bit, but no one's saying that's woke like at all. But again, I find it utterly astounding that this stuff is completely ignored for the most part, and they're just paying attention to the other stuff like Dumbo and whatnot because again, like I said, it's just stuck in the past or whatever. Yeah, completely ignore this. They just don't want to have things remind them of the real life problems, I guess. Guess what? The past isn't all it's cracked to be. Not that I'm trying to be jaded myself, honestly. But a lot of the shorts that he made when he was again in his life had, political stuff in it about the war and whatnot, Hitler or whatever else. So I find it bizarre, weird that the people be calling Frozen 2 starring bizarre. I find that bizarre. That they're calling it bizarre. The fact that they're promoting feminism and whatnot. What are you talking about? Walt Disney himself had hired a lot of women to be helping out with his animations, which again also gets ignored by the way as well. And yeah, that's just weird. Yeah, just kind of like what happened with the original Japanese version of this film, which was, yes, very political. But of course, a lot of people would just want to ignore that and still do to this very day because that's not the version they grew up with. They grew up with the bastard version. Yes, that's what I'm calling it, the bastard version. And yes, they liked it, even though it was pretty bad. It's easily one of the worst films I've ever seen. Holy hell, it's awful. And of course, there's the Japanese version of this film, which again was actually pretty good. It's not that bad. It's actually really nice. Okay, I mean, it's kind of depressing actually, but it's pretty good though. But of course, there's the bastard version, of course, and whatnot. And yeah, a lot of people actually grew up with this one, and of course, ignore the politics behind this. Obviously, people seem to enjoy it anyway, even though it's pretty awful. It still sucked. And then there's some people out there that actually grew up with this version of the character, this iteration, and think this is the actual one, the real Godzilla apparently, and those really bad. Again, oh boy. I mean, yes, don't get me wrong. It's not that the original film, Japanese version, was released in America. Eventually it was, but people like this individual don't accept that that's how it began because people like this just assume that it's going to be goofy, lighthearted, silly fun like the bastard version of the Power Rangers. And Jesus Christ Almighty, it's just they just want to ignore it, even though the official version was eventually released, considering the fact that yeah, gloom and doom kind of a thing. The fact it's gloomy and whatnot. It's really depressing. Give me a break. And also, what makes this even more strange is that yeah, Mulan has a Chinese woman as the main character, and literally no one's calling that woke like at all. How about Pocahontas? I mean, okay, may not be completely accurate to source material, but still, the movie was pretty popular. No one said anything but bad on gods of that, I guess. I mean, for being woke, I guess. Or even The Little Mermaid for being active, I guess. I mean, I didn't think the movie was very good, if I'm honest with you, but still, no one was claiming wokeness, political stuff or whatever, I guess. But even the original Star Wars trilogy had political stuff in it, which is an aspect of the movies people are ignoring for some reason. Same thing with the Star Wars prequel trilogy. As terrible as they are, yeah, they still have some politics in it, yet people ignore that. So, but when it came to the sequel trilogy, however, oh, now it's a problem. Oh, now it's an issue. Now? Like, now it's an issue? Well, like, what are you talking about? What? Why are you complaining about that now? It was already there. Like, I don't get it. You had no issue talking about these movies before. Now that Disney got their hands on this, oh no! You can't. How dare you? And this is bizarre to me. This seems kind of. I don't get it. This entire thing seems really confusing. And but yeah, just I don't know. I guess it's a different generation. I guess in some ways, the people who grew up watching a lot of Disney movies back in the 40s and 50s, or even the 60s, is not going to be the same group of people up in the I guess the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even the 2000s. The audience just does change, of course, obviously, from generation to generation and whatnot. Which yes, I get that. Tastes change and whatnot, and movies themselves have to pretty much go on with this change if they want to remain in business, and that's what Disney's doing. Even though some of the older films, yes, are better, which I would agree, but it can't remain the same for all eternity because it would just get stale. Now, if things get stale, that's not good for business. Whether people want to accept it or not, the film industry, yes, including Disney, is a business. You have to accept that. That is, in fact, a fact. So just the fact that we maybe include minorities or people of different sexual orientations or whatever, yada yada yada, all that jazz. That in itself doesn't necessarily mean that they're going against your nostalgia. That doesn't mean it's trying to erase what had already been done. When it comes to your childhood still existed. Whether you want to accept it or not, yes, your childhood still existed. It still happened. It did not erase your childhood. It just seems like a lot of people out there want to relive their childhood because nowadays it's a different environment. It's not like how it was when they were kids. When they were kids, could be like maybe sometime in the maybe early '90s or maybe a little bit farther than that, maybe the early '80s, maybe when they were real young, when they were little kids, didn't have that much work to worry about really. But now that they're adults, it could be like in the late '30s or somewhere in the '40s. Life is different now compared to what maybe when you were 8, when you were 12 or whatever. The fun times I guess when you're in middle school and whatnot. And yes, things have changed. Hopefully for the better, but still trying to be a bit optimistic here and whatnot. But point being, like I just said just a moment ago, your childhood was not erased. Yeah, that's the thing, folks. Your precious childhood memories was not wiped out of existence. So, okay, just let's get that out the way. You're just delusional if that's what you think. Oh no, you were my childhood, yada yada yada. That's just ridiculous. Your childhood still happened, that it still existed. But anyway, it just seems odd that they would pay attention to one thing and ignore the other, which I don't get really. So yes, of course, many films were produced from Disney that was used by the military, I guess, to cheer them up, I guess, as morbid as that may seem. So yeah, Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse had been in this lot of shorts and whatnot And like posters, drawings, merchandising, you name it. A lot of this stuff was connected to the characters in the 1930s and even the 1940s. So there's that, of course. So I don't get how a lot of people are not aware of this kind of thing. A lot of animations were done before, yeah, like way long ago. So it just seems like they only want to acknowledge certain portions of Disney's history and ignore the other parts. And even make up certain things like how he supposedly was anti-Semitic was, of course, was a complete lie, and that was actually just proven to be, false, of course. But it just seems odd. It just seems really odd, for, of course. I mean, yes, I agree. No, there's everybody has made mistakes from time again. Sure, yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong. Who's perfect? No one is. I know. Does anybody have a blueprint to make a absolute perfect human being? I'm not going to include Jesus here because his existence is also highly debatable when you think about it. But aside from that, but even if you want to bring Jesus into this picture, if I don't give you the benefit of doubt, even his story surrounding him, maybe he was real at a certain point, but a lot of his stories were exaggerated, which just can happen. Of course, when people are talking about other people and whatnot, the details could be lost. And when you think about it, a lot of things though about Jesus was spread about verbally before being written down. About, if I remember correctly, about 30 years after his death, I believe. So yes, quite a bit would have been exaggerated, and a lot of the important details would have been forever lost. So again, just throwing it out there. So anyway, all that aside, that doesn't mean you should ignore what was already there. So the thing is that, as if it wasn't already obvious enough, I'm one of those type of individuals. If something was intended to be a certain way, leave it alone. Don't alter it. Don't change it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is what I'm getting at. Don't tweak it. Don't throw it around or whatever. However you want to say that. You should get my point here. It just seems odd that a lot of people would ignore a lot of stuff. It's again another reason as to why I don't like remakes. Like I don't like remakes, like at all. This is a part. So yeah, just do something more original. I mean, Disney can afford it. I mean, nowadays they can. Maybe not back then. Maybe no, but nowadays they can. The studio has been doing a lot really well. So yes, nowadays they can actually afford to take that risk. I mean, not everybody's that lucky. Not everybody's that lucky to make um, some sort of experimental type of thing. Yes, I realized having a lot of money in your hands. Yeah, that can be risky because when you're making a movie, the budget itself is basically a loan. When you think about it, the film itself could have like, I don't know, maybe like, let's say $3 million for its budget, which is quite a bit. Okay, not really compared to other movies, but still $3 million for a movie. That's the film itself, whatever it may be, should make that money back plus profit. And so, during its theatrical run, it should make a lot more than that. Maybe 9 million, maybe 10 million, maybe 12 million, maybe 15 million. The more the merrier. Of course, then you have to include the merchandising, the the home release sales, and then you have to compete with the used market, stuff like this and whatnot, to make it more affordable, to make your next movie. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of factors that come into this, which yes, obviously is incredibly stressful, obviously. But the studio already knew that with the first Frozen film, the first Frozen film became the highest grossing animated film of all time. So this gave him the confidence to do a sequel. The sequel, Frozen 2, actually made even more money than the original. Made more cha-ching cha-ching until they started here at one. Anyway, folks, I think that'll be it. So as always, thanks for watching and take care. Until next time. See ya. Oh yeah. Later.